Hi, everyone. Happy Memorial Day. This is Jane Celia Hatch from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am a writer. I'm a former reporter. In fact, I was a whistleblower. I'm also a psychic and I'm a shaman. A lot of people having a hard time with that word, but and I don't go around saying it to just everybody, but it's a way to define how I interact with the world, why I talk about the things I do, who I am as a person from the time I was born, I believe, until now. A lot of people are born shamanic, just meaning you have a very deep connection with the world, especially the natural world, flowers, trees, rivers. You also can see people's energy fields. And it's being a shaman is really just being a human in your fullest self. So I don't say it as something that I'm different or more evolved. I believe that all humans are shamans and we just have it shut down. It's us being human in the biggest capacity we can be as far as our intuition and our gut instinct and our way of navigating the world. The mind is like a processor. It will see information and process it. But you can, if you just exclusively stay in your mind, you're subject to mind control. So if you can develop your shamanic sense or your gut instinct, your feeling center, you're going to be connected to a much higher vibration and a much more universal knowledge than if you're just, it's sort of like your computer telling you what to do, which is sort of happening already through subliminal information as well as covert and overt. So I want people to reverse that for this to sustain humans. And so we're not replaced by AI and many other reasons, but that's not the focus of this. So I will continue to say in my introduction that I'm a shaman, but I'm also a lot of other things. So to make it simple, a shaman, I'm a psychic, I'm a writer. I have a book out, The Land of Broken Crystals. I'm writing another one about Princess Diana. Believe it or not, they're very interwoven, the material in both of them. And I will leave links to my book that has been published by Trine Day Press below. So my topic today is Danny Masterson, and it seems like it might be a strange topic for me in my little shaman's corner here. This is my living room, and this is my kitchen, and all my herbs are over there. I'm also an herbalist, and I make flower essence. Those are my daughters. I have 3 daughters, so I'm a mom, and that's probably the biggest thing in my life. But anyway, so why would I be talking about Danny Masterson? There's a lot of reasons, and I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. The reason I'm talking about Danny Masterson is because of the way he has affected women, and specifically 4 women have charged him with rape. And another reason is I loved that 70s show. I really loved it. One thing, I was a teenager in the 70s, and it was really authentic, and I kind of got to relive it, but I got to relive it. My teenage years were not very good, so I kind of got to relive it in a good way. And I actually had a best friend who had red hair, and everybody did hang out in basements. It was weird. I don't think kids do that now, but we all did. Everybody smoked pot in the basement and on and on and on. And I just thought the characters were great. The actors and actresses were great. But when they did the little circle thing, when they were in the cellar and they were smoking pot, there was like smoke all around them. When it got to Danny Masterson and we had to look face on to him, I always had a little flip, like, oh, it was my gut. My gut instinct is like, I don't like it when they stop on him. And I kind of would, it was strong. It was a very strong reaction. And I still, to this day, talk myself out of things, or I still don't 100% trust. And I go, oh, you don't like him because that's his character, you know, he's a bat, he's a jerk. He's meant to be. I actually felt really sorry for Jackie, the character Jackie, when her role was to be his girlfriend, and she broke up with the guy she married now. But anyway, whenever he was in a scene, it was creepy. If I was honest with how I was feeling and didn't try to say, oh, you just don't like it when people smoke pot, or you don't like it because he's this, that. No, I was not having a mind reaction. It was not a calculating this, that. I had a visceral reaction to Danny Masterson. My body was telling me that it was strong too. It wasn't just a little, it was like, oh, like, ooh, I don't like him. So I didn't know exactly why until recently. So just to catch you up, Danny Masterson, who's a Scientologist, and I mentioned that because Scientology is deeply interwoven with this. He's a Scientologist. He has been accused. It was originally 3, now it is 4 women. He has allegedly brutally raped and abused and tortured. So the first trial about 6 months ago ended, I believe it ended it was either a mistrial or like a, whatever they call stalemate. It was, and I think he thought it was over. And then there was another woman that came forward and they were able to reopen the case. So the case just opened up a month ago, the beginning of May. And I follow it through this former Scientologist. His name is Tony Ortega. And I was drawn in because I'm like, yeah, why did I feel this way? So I'm going to share my screen with just a couple things about Danny Masterson. And I'm going to get to the point of this quickly. I don't want my videos to last too long. So first of all, here's that circle I was talking about. And usually, as the viewers, we would have a close up, of their faces. And, I was fine with these guys, they were great, but I would get close to him. This is Danny Masterson. And I would just feel like, oh, I don't know. I don't like the feeling I'm getting. So yeah, that's a close up of that first scene. I think this is okay, yeah, this is the original cast has gotten together and he's absent. This is I picked this picture out because his eyes look absolutely dead to me. If you just dead, I can't even look at it. I don't get that, but I get another whole feeling like there's nobody home. There's nobody human in there. So the other actors were there, Topher Grace, Laura Prepon, Ashton Kutcher, and Miley Kunis were there for a trailer release for the new one, but not Masterson. So yeah, here's a few pictures of him. Again, I always just felt very uncomfortable about this man. So yes, there was a mistrial in the first case. That was one of his former girlfriends. I think she is either Jane Doe, is one of the Jane Does that's testifying. And here is the well where this girl, the confrontation with Danny Masterson began, or he began to stalk her. They're all in Hollywood. This is on Sunset Boulevard. And this is where the testimony begins. I believe it is of Jane Doe 3. And she says they hung out a lot at the well. And this is where some of the stalking and grooming began for this Jane Doe 3, who I believe was also an ex-girlfriend. So I'm going to read you a little bit of her testimony because it really got to me. So this was day 13, and I received this like the 4th of May. So this is from Tony Ortega. He's an ex-Scientologist trying to expose Scientology. And he also is a journalist. He's at the courthouse every single day. And he's there's no video, but he is recording it. So, oh, this is Jane Doe 2. There's 4 women now that are testifying that he brutally raped them. And I'm not going to go into those rape scenes because they're very, very graphic and they're awful. And I'm sure everybody could guess. But I wanted to just read a bit about the stalking of her and the grooming, because when you read it, you're like, no, don't go, don't go, don't go. But she keeps talking herself out of it. And she keeps saying, well, maybe he really likes this. So this is direct examination of Jane Doe 2, day 9 of testimony. Right now, they've rested. They're waiting for the jury's decision. It's taking a long time, but the actual second trial is over. It ended, I think, last Friday, and or maybe it was last week, but now they're waiting for the jury to come back with their decision. So this was day 13, so about 2 weeks into the trial. And this testimony just really got to me, because I just like, how many of us have had that gut instinct, had that bad feeling, and we keep talking ourselves out of it. Okay, photos of exterior and interior of the well. When you first got there, what did the two of you do? This is not direct cross-exam, this is direct. So this must be the prosecution. Yes, so they show pictures of when you first got there, what did you two do? Is her and her friend. We ended up in a booth with Danny and Luke Watson. So that's Danny Masterson. It was like a VIP booth. We were just sitting there. This is Jane Doe 2, who testified that she was brutally raped and tortured by Danny. And this is the lead up. What was happening? Just talking. The music was really loud. They were drinking. I had water. I remember that. Our Aliara, her friend, had a cocktail, and Luke and Danny were drinking. I think, I can't remember. Something caught your attention. Yes, a song came on, and I went to take a drink of water. I was really into the song in that moment. I closed my eyes. I was drinking from this water bottle, and my eyes were closed. And when I opened them, all 3 of them were staring at me intently. So she's taking a drink of water. She turns around, and all 3 of them, so that means Luke and Danny and this one other person, they're staring at her. They looked at Danny, so they all looked at her, then they looked at Danny, and he was staring at me intensely. That's just a moment that stood out, and I was a little embarrassed. I wasn't really paying attention till I opened my eyes. When you noticed that, how did you make you feel? A combination of things. I felt nervous. I felt self-conscious. I felt a little flattered. And that's another thing with women is, culture has told us that our primary power is our looks and our bodies. And so, if you get attention to that, okay, the universe is lining up. Okay. And I'm flattered. I like it. Where, it should not play any role in, how we perceive a situation. When you exited later, did you have an exchange with him? And he means Danny. Yes, he said, give me your number. He didn't say, can I? He said, give me your number. Did you? Yes, I did. What happened next? I believe Ilaria and I went back to our place. I think I said I gave him my number. Maybe he'll ask me out. He said, oh yeah, I've never seen him like that. He's going to call you, trust me. Referring to the defendant, yes, to Danny. Did you hear from him? A couple of nights later, yes. About what time? Early evening. How did you hear from him? He texted me. What did he say? Listen to this. He was very commanding. He said, you're coming over now. Come over now. You're getting into the jacuzzi. You're putting on a bathing suit and you're coming over right now. And I was like, what? It sounded incredulous. I thought he might take me on a date. I told him that you can take me on a date. I'm not coming over. So she's kind of getting her bearings a little bit. She's like, this is ridiculous. He's commanding me. And so she's found her power center. She's saying, I'm not coming over. You can take me out a date, but I'm not going over. Did you know where he lived? Was the next question. Yes, it was just like 3 blocks walking, if that, and near my old apartment as well. I knew from the parties where he lived. I've been there a couple of times, but never one-on-one, never. You said you responded, take me on a date. I'm not coming over. Yeah, the texts were coming in fast and commanding. You're going to get in the jacuzzi. You're going to get in the bathing suit. And that's what's happening. Don't say no. Ugh, it's just gross. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Can you take me on a date? So she's still like in her power. She knows, like, she's like, this is gross. This is awful. I was pretty young also. I wondered, is he flirting? I get it. I understand why she would say this. She's young. It's Danny Masterson. He's a superstar. Maybe she doesn't know what flirting is. Maybe he just is so into me. He's like, you have to come. You're just so attractive. Is he so into me? I didn't really know why he was talking to me like that. And I think all women, we get it. And his texts were coming in. How are you feeling? Confused. I was totally confused. Still flattered. Again, that's a power leak, something to do with the way we look. I didn't know if this was his way of flirting. I really don't know how to articulate this. It was completely confusing to me. I didn't know. So at some point you said so at that point you said that night you would go over. I did agree. So he's sort of broken down her power center. She's starting to get into her head, like, oh, maybe he just really likes me. Maybe he's really into me. Like, that's the way he flirts. So she's out of her power center, which would be her gut and her body and her feeling. She's gotten into her head. She's starting to rationalize it. What were the conditions you agreed to? She said, I set parameters. I was like, I'll come over, but I'm not getting into your jacuzzi. I'm not putting on, and this is objection. Okay, so there was an objection. She couldn't finish her sentence. I believe on text to the best of my memory. What were the conditions? She told him, I'm not getting into your jacuzzi. I am not putting on a bikini. We can have a talk. We can have a glass of wine and talk. And then I'm going home. Okay. So someone who's talking to you like that is, that's saying, you come over here now, do not say no. And then before, when he was staring at her, just leering at her. So she's out of her power center now, because somebody that does that to you, they're not going to listen to your boundaries. They're not going to give a shit about the boundaries you set. He set a trap. She's walking into it. This is what she said her boundaries were. I'm not getting into your jacuzzi. I'm not putting on a bikini. We can have a talk. We can have a glass of wine and talk, and then I'm going home. I'm not getting into your pool. And he was, yes, you are. I didn't understand what he was doing. I didn't see it as nefarious, but I said, I'm not doing that. So the defense attorney, I think it's prosecuting attorney. And after setting these conditions, did you go over? I did. I mean, I knew reading that at that point that was over for her, but if I was her, I don't know how old she is, 20, 21. I understand. I know, we don't honor our gut. We're taught to be in our head. We're taught to be accommodating. We're taught to, not grin our, put out our claws and grin our and attack. We're taught to kind of accommodate these situations. How were you feeling? She said she'd go over. A little excited, intrigued. Allegra told me, again, he really likes you. You should go. She didn't want me to doubt it. See, she had doubts. Who wouldn't have doubts? But you're young, you're naive. He's a star. He's Danny Masterson. She doesn't, women don't always value themselves just for being who they are. They acquiesce to outside authority. She didn't want me to doubt it. She was, you should go. I know he likes you. I've never seen him like that with another girl at the bar. So her friend is not helping her. Was he your type traditionally? No, not my type. He is not my type traditionally. No. Were there qualities you found attractive? This is still the lawyer examining Jane Doe 2. Yeah, he was really direct, really confident. I think he seemed really self-assured and even a little arrogant, cocky. And I think he had his stuff together. He was working as an actor, and that was really about it. Were you similar in age? I think he's a little bit older than I am, but a few years. You said you were nervous. As usual, I had a little bit to drink, a little bit of vodka, a hit, a shot, a little bit of wine just to take the edge off. I'm just talking like a hit or a shot. It's not a lot. We're taking a couple of swigs. When you had that, what were you feeling? Calmer, period, less shaky. Were you feeling drunk? No. Did you take any medication before going? I wasn't allowed. How did you get there? I walked, I think. I walked. He lived pretty close. And the home you walked to, I guess he points out a Hollymont house, which is Danny Masterson's house in Hollywood Hills. Yes. Were you wearing a bathing suit? No. How were you dressed? I think I was wearing either corduroys or jeans and a blouse. And on the blouse, I had a camisole, a big puffy 60s nylon blue waffle coat. It was chilly. When you got there, what happened? He opened the door and we were like in a foyer. He said to come in. We turned this way, left to the living room. When you first went in that room, where did you go? There was a couch. I sat down on it. What happens next? He sat down for a second and we're talking. Then he went to get me a drink in the kitchen. Was there anyone else there you were aware of? No. When he returned, what did he give you? A glass of red wine. Did he bring a drink for himself? I don't think he did. Did you see him pour that drink? No, I was just sitting there in the living room. What happened? I was a little embarrassed to drink in front of him because my anxiety would make my face shake. I was embarrassed how nervous I was. I was trying to make conversation. You want to give me a tour? He was like, no, drink that. So he was drugging her. I forgot that part. He drugs all of his victims and rapes them, and then he brutalizes them, allegedly. And I was standing. I was trying to get into casual conversation because I didn't want him to watch me drink it. Did you drink some of it? Yes, a few sips, not many, not 2 sips, not 10. How are you feeling? Still nervous. We got up and started meander. Where did you go? I thought we walked kind of this way and went into the kitchen and went into his office. And we were talking. When you went into the office, did you say, no, we went outside? Where did you go? So she says they go to the pool area. When you got near the jacuzzi, does something change in how you're feeling? At first, he was talking to me. He was facing. Then he said, take off your clothes now. I was kind of giggling. I said, I'm not going to do that. Not going in the pool. He was saying, take off your clothes or I'll take them off for you. And right around then, things were starting to go blank or black. It's hard to explain. Things were there and then things weren't there. How much time had passed since you started drinking the wine and he was telling you to take his clothes off? 30, 40 minutes. Visuals were coming and going, and then they go black. He's talking to me. He's saying, take off your clothes, take them off now. I'm going to take them off. Just really militant. And then all of a sudden, for me, that part when I'm resisting, it feels heavy. It feels black. And then I have a glimpse of him and me in the jacuzzi, and then it goes black. So you can kind of guess where it goes from there. And so the point of this video is, I guess my videos are kind of for women and girls. I guess I wasn't necessarily going there, but you can avoid, okay, so she had the rape, and then there's, the trial, and then the reputation. The rest of her life is now affected from that one moment where she could have said no. When he was saying, get over here now, and she was like, that felt weird, but she didn't stay with her power. She said, well, maybe he was flattering me. And then it got he got more commanding, and she got, unfortunately, less in her power center and out into her head. And, she's probably thinking, well, my girlfriend likes him, or, she must know him. And you start thinking, meanwhile, you've got like a red light flashing in your gut instinct. We all have that protection. So when I was reading it and it went into come over here right now, and she said, I'm going to set boundaries, I knew it was over at that point. Because when you're dealing with a psychopath or whatever he is, he's definitely, in my estimation, a rapist, and he's a brutal man. This was not just well, no rape is normal, but this was a brutal rape to all the women testified, and drugging. You're not going to set any boundaries once you're in the trap. You're done. It's over once he gets you. But you do have time, and you do have resources. You have your gut instinct. And I am someone who was completely detached from my gut instinct in my 20s and 30s because I was so traumatized. I was out of my body and in my head a lot. And you can't think your way out of a lot of situations. You have to have that navigation tool, operating and intact. And, a lot of us can feel it. But I had a girlfriend, we were talking about it today. There's two things: you have to feel it and acknowledge it. That's the first thing, because you've got could, shoulds, woulds, flattery, love. Oh, it's him. And then you've got this red light, and then you have to be able to act. So she had to be able to hang up the phone, block him, and never ever have anything to do with him again. And that didn't happen. It doesn't happen to a lot of us because we have been taught to operate outside of our shaman center. We all have the capabilities. And this is a really basic gut instinct. You don't have to journey through the web of life or call in your power animals or your spirit guides. You just have to listen, and respond. And that would have been it for her. No more. He's done. She ever saw him. He had clearly that night at the well, he had collaborated with this other guy, Luke, and somebody else. There was some sort of collaboration, because they look at her, she had a bad feeling, and then this guy looks at Danny. It's decided, like, she's the next victim. And then you add on top of this Scientology, because a lot of these women were also in Scientology, and they did not report the rape, because a couple of things. One thing in Scientology, they orient around the concept of karma. And if you were raped, you somehow deserved it. So that was one reason. Plus, Scientology depends on these big stars to bring them more victims, and also millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars in donation. That's just the very tip of the iceberg. I'm not getting into Scientology. It is extremely evil. It victimizes women continuously. Lisa Marie Presley was a Scientologist. She tried to get out. She was supposed to be part of the Danny Masterson trial. Anybody that walks away from Scientology, they're lucky if they get away with their life. It sometimes makes me wonder what really did happen to Lisa Marie Presley, because she was going to align against Danny Masterson, because I believe she knew some of the victims. They had testified. One of the women had testified to her immediately after the rape. David Miscavige, I think he's the leader of the Scientology movement. His wife has completely disappeared. They think she's being kept somewhere underground, because if you wake up from the mind control, they either have to hide you, or they try to shame you. All your family has to disconnect from you, or they have many layers of how they get back if you leave. And so I don't know. I mean, it's funny because Elvis died. They're saying, it was a drug overdose, but he was about to testify against some religious group, or the mafia, or, if you read, go deep dive, he was so young. Now, especially 40, 41 is extremely young. The night before he died, yes, he did look puffy, but who was feeding him all those drugs? Why was it, it, and I connect a lot of dots. I do. Michael Jackson, same exact thing. He was 50. Same, oh, drug overdose, and he was another truth teller. Um, Not related to Scientology, but I'm just connecting, mostly Lisa Marie Presley. Did not look well at all at the Golden Globes or whatever it was. It was a big awards ceremony. She was at January 10th. Didn't look well. And she's having heart problems. I saw that she was going to die on January 12th. I can see the Grim Reaper, for lack of a better word. I can see that shadow. And plus I could just see it in her face. And sure enough, 2 days later, January 12th, she died, and I won't forget it because it's my birthday. So Lisa Marie Presley was somehow connected to this. And I don't know her mother's position, but there was problems between them because Lisa Marie wanted to get out, and I'm not sure her mother did, and her daughter too. But anyway, that's a little bit aside the point. But it's a dangerous organization, I believe, from what I've read. And Danny Masterson is one of their big stars. Now, there's been a problem. One of the problems at the very end of this trial was it looks like some information that was not supposed to be shared with Scientology lawyers was shared. So now I think it's called discovery was shared that wasn't supposed to. So there's complications again. All the information is in there. They thought Tony Ortega thought there would be a verdict on Friday. There was not. We'll see how it goes. It's clearly anyone that has 2 brain cells that he is guilty, but there's politics involved, there's money involved, there's Scientology involved, there's the deep state involved, there's probably Satanism involved. So we don't know which way it will go. Hopefully there'll be justice for these women. But the point of this is trust your gut instinct. Imagine if we all trusted our gut instinct, we never got involved with abusive men. Where would they all go? Maybe they'd never marry, maybe they'd never reproduce, and maybe they'd just atrophy off the planet if we just said, no, my gut is burning. So I hope that everybody, when you're young especially, you can avoid a lifetime of pain. So lots of love to everybody. Happy Memorial Day. It's kind of a funny Memorial Day, but I've been meaning to do it. And because of that reason, trust your gut. When I was reading that email from Tony Ortega, the testimony from Jane Doe too, I was like, oh my God, she's good. I could see her breaking down. Like I could see her moving out of her power. She had her power, then she went out of her power. She went, and in the end, she was out of her power, and she went over there and she stepped into the trap, and there was no way he was going to listen to her. So anyway, love, bye.